If you're considering a FreeStyle Libre 3 Plus CGM, you're in the right place. I've lived with type 1 diabetes for over 27 years, and I've tested the FreeStyle Libre 3 Plus, initially just for 45 days, that's 3 full sensors. I'll break it down, what worked, what didn't, and what you really need to know before using it. And just as I thought I had my conclusion, I tried one more sensor, and that one, sensor number 4, changed everything. So hang tight because this was a bit of a journey. Libre 3 Plus is Abbott's latest CGM here in the US, and it'll be replacing the FreeStyle Libre 3 completely in end of September 2025. Let me give you a high-level overview of how it works. A Libre CGM, so a continuous glucose monitor, is a device that measures blood sugars 24/7. The transmitter sits on the skin, and then this small thin sensor sits underneath the skin. When the sensor has expired, you just peel it off like a Band-Aid. Like Libre 2 Plus, Libre 3 Plus is a 15-day wear sensor. That's an upgrade compared to Libre 3 that was a 14-day sensor. It connects with a free app on your smartphone or receiver, and it currently integrates with select devices, including the iLet insulin pump. And in March, the FDA approved it to also connect with the Twist insulin pump. That's expected to be launched later this year. This is what the sensor looks like up close. Small, it's light and sleek. It's the same size as the FreeStyle Libre 3, but it's significantly smaller than Libre 2, and it's also slightly smaller than its main competitor, the Dexcom G7. But while the footprint is small, the sensor filament that sits underneath the skin is a bit thicker than some of the other CGMs, including the Dexcom CGM. And I do find that I feel it a little bit more during insertion. It's not painful, but I do think that you feel the insertion. Also, I scar pretty easily, and Libre did leave me more of a mark than other CGMs. I found the insertion to be easy and fairly intuitive, but I have also been using CGMs for over 10 years now. You clean the skin with alcohol, unscrew the cap, and then just press the sensor on the skin. The needle will quickly place the sensor underneath the skin and then retract back into the inserter that you then throw out. FreeStyle Libre 3 Plus is FDA cleared to be worn on the back of the arm without an overlay tape. For me, these sensors stuck, but if you find that it starts to peel or you're nervous that it's going to fall off, you can apply an overlay tape. I'll talk a little bit more about options a little later on. Yes, FreeStyle Libre 3 Plus is FDA cleared for the back of the arm, and that is where I wore it for this whole experiment, but it's not my favorite place to wear a CGM. I've been wearing a Dexcom G7 for a long time. That one is also FDA cleared to be worn on the back of the arm. However, my favorite placement for that one is the abdomen and my thighs. I'll be testing out more FreeStyle Libre 3 Plus CGMs over the next coming months, and I'll be testing out how they work in some of those off-label placements. So be on the lookout for a video where I discuss FreeStyle Libre 3 Plus placements. The reason why I don't love my FreeStyle Libre 3 or any other CGM for that matter in the back of my arm is that I feel it when I'm sleeping and when I'm changing my clothes. I was very careful with these sensors and I paid a lot of attention, and 2 of them stuck for the full 15 days, but 1 did get pulled off before the 15 days were up. So let's talk more about how well these sensors stick to the body. The first 2 FreeStyle Libre 3 Plus sensors stuck for the full 15-day duration. Even though I was in the Florida heat, I was in and out of the water, so very impressive. But one of the sensors fell off at day 11. So even though the adhesive is overall impressive, it can vary. And I also think it will vary a lot from person to person. But to ensure your sensor stays in place, you can use an overlay tape. I like the skin grip overlay tapes as it's a flexible fabric material and it's easy to peel off. If a sensor falls off or if it malfunctions, it doesn't necessarily mean that you're just out of luck and wasted your money. You can reach out to Abbott and see if they'll give you a replacement. And that's what I did. And you don't even have to call them if your sensor falls off or if it's defective. You can, if you want to, or you can just fill out a request online instead. And that's exactly what I did when my sensor got ripped off and then failed. I filled out the information. All I needed was a serial number and the error code. And already the day after, I had an email in my inbox saying that they'll send me a replacement. Could not be easier. Now let's talk about what's arguably the most important part of a CGM, and that's the accuracy. And because it's so important, I wanted to include my experience with my 4th FreeStyle Libre 3 Plus sensor, because this one, that was a bit of a hot mess. During this experiment, I did a lot of finger sticks to compare readings. The first 3 sensors didn't always match my finger sticks, which is to be expected, but they weren't wildly off either. That fourth sensor is a different story, and we'll get to that. I did not expect them to be the same, as a CGM measures blood sugars in the fluid underneath the skin, and that's about 10 minutes behind the bloodstream. That means that if your blood sugars are changing quickly, you can't expect the reading to be the same as your finger stick. I did run into some accuracy issues, especially during high-intensity cardio sessions. So at one point, my Libre was reading 50 milligrams per deciliter higher than my meter. I also got some lost signal as well as error messages. And there's also one night where I just had to turn off the Libre alerts entirely. It kept alerting me and just wasn't reflecting what was actually going on. So the first three sensors were fairly close to my finger sticks, although they were reading a little higher. And they had the occasional inaccuracy and sensor errors. Somewhat annoying, but overall, not enough to disrupt my use of the sensors. I've used other brands, and unfortunately, all of them have occasional issues. The fourth sensor, however, was a complete mess. Over 3 days, it was consistently showing blood sugars that were 50 to 60 milligrams per deciliter higher than my finger sticks. And I was measuring during times where finger sticks and the CGM readings should be fairly similar, such as when my blood sugars have been stable for a long time and not right after meals. It was completely useless. And here's the biggest drawback, in my opinion, of the FreeStyle Libre 3 Plus. If your CGM is inaccurate consistently, you can't calibrate it like you can with other brands of CGMs. If it's inaccurate, there's nothing you can do. And that's the thing. Sometimes they are. So after 3 days of frustration, I decided to call the Abbott customer service, and they agreed that it was a defective sensor and they offered a replacement. If your sensor is inaccurate, you can't use the online form to get a replacement, you have to call them. And I did have to go through a bit of back and forth with the customer representative before they finally agreed to send me that replacement sensor. Is it still worth it? Yes and no. In general, I think a CGM can be a great tool. It can tell you your blood sugar trends and it can alert you of high or low blood sugars. The problem is it can be inaccurate. So I don't think it can completely replace finger sticks. But I find that if you occasionally do finger sticks to check for accuracy, as well as a finger stick if your symptoms don't match the readings, a CGM in general can be a solid tool. So back to those finger sticks. I generally found that the Libre picked up on high blood sugar or blood sugar rises really quickly, whereas it didn't pick up on the low blood sugars as fast, which really tracks with my Libre readings generally being higher than finger sticks. It's interesting, the Libre readings updates every minute in the app of the receiver, so one should think that it would be really excellent at picking up on blood sugar changes. Let me show you one really interesting, little strange moment. I used Afrezza, which is inhaled insulin, to correct a high blood sugar. Afrezza works really fast, way faster than injected insulin, and the FreeStyle Libre 3 Plus just couldn't keep up. First, it gave me an error message. Then it told me that my blood sugar is urgently low. It was not. Before it calibrated itself back. It was just too much change too fast for this CGM. So with these four sensors, I would say 3 of the 4 were overall as accurate as I would expect. But I will say the lack of calibration and then that one sensor that was completely whack made me a little wary of FreeStyle Libre 3 Plus, especially because I rely on this tech to catch low blood sugars. You'll experience the occasional defect sensor with any CGM brand. So I wouldn't dismiss FreeStyle Libre 3 Plus just based on this. But it's definitely a red flag that I want you to be aware of. But there's more to the FreeStyle Libre 3 Plus than just the sensor and the accuracy. You can choose to see your blood sugar readings in either the FreeStyle Libre app or in the receiver. Unfortunately, you can't see it in both at the same time, as Libre only allows for one Bluetooth connection. I choose to see my blood sugar readings in the app, so that's what I'll be focusing on for this review. Abbott recently launched a new Libre app that works both for Libre 2 and Libre 3 Plus, and I highly recommend using that over the old dedicated Libre 3 app. The old app is basic, actually, so is a new one, but the big difference is that it allows you to silence all of your alarms for up to 6 hours, something I find really convenient at times. For example, when I'm getting false lows all night. In the app, you'll see a 24-hour view of your blood sugars, as well as your current blood sugar. That's very nice, but I think what's really helpful is that little arrow next to the blood sugar. That one tells you how your blood sugars are trending, and that can allow you to catch your blood sugars, be proactive, and catch your blood sugars before they go too high or too low. Unfortunately, there are no alarms, as there are for other CGM systems, for when your blood sugars are rising or dropping, you'll have to check the app or your receiver to keep an eye on that. I do wish it would be possible to see a 3-hour view rather than only a 24. It can be a little challenging to really understand what's going on when you can't zoom in. 24-hour views are great for analysis, but I prefer the Libre View analytics software for comprehensive blood sugar analysis. And that's another free resource from Abbott. Just log in with the same credentials as you use in the app, and you'll automatically see all your blood sugar readings show up in the software. If you're using the receiver, you can upload it manually using a cable. Libre View is a great tool, and I think it's a big miss if you don't occasionally log in and look at your blood sugar reports. And if you also log food, medication, exercise in the app, all of that will show up in the Libre View reports. That way you can look at what you're doing, see what works, and make appropriate data-driven changes. Another thing to think about before you decide whether or not this is the right tool for you is the price. The price will depend on if you have insurance. If you have insurance, what is your copay? Do you have a deductible? Or if you're paying cash. Many find that something like a FreeStyle Libre 3 Plus is covered through insurance if you have a diabetes diagnosis and if you take insulin. Some insurance companies cover it for everyone who has a diabetes diagnosis, but it's important that you reach out to your insurance company and check directly with them. Regardless of whether or not you're paying cash or using your insurance, if you're in the US, you need a prescription to pick up your FreeStyle Libre 3 Plus. I know it's a little different in other countries. For example, in Germany and in the UK, you can order a Libre CGM without a prescription online. Cash pay is a little, let's say, interesting, as prices can differ from pharmacy to pharmacy. I recommend using GoodRx. Go on there, look up the prices in your local area. I got 2 FreeStyle Libre 3 Plus for $180 using GoodRx coupons. But after posting a previous video, one of my viewers left me a cost-saving tip, and of course I want to share that with you. She said that if you call Abbott directly, they can help you find a better discount, and she ended up only paying $75 for 1 month of sensors. That's significantly less than I paid. But still, it's expensive. Currently, my insurance will cover Dexcom, and it covers that for $25 a month, which is significantly less than $180 or even $75. And unfortunately, I think it's going to be a lot more expensive than a lot of people can afford, and that's a real shame. But they do have a try before you buy option. You still need a prescription, but if you're curious about FreeStyle Libre 3 Plus, I would suggest starting there. I mean, it's free. So in conclusion, if you're looking for a CGM that's discreet, that lasts 15 days, and that'll give you minute-by-minute updates, I think that the FreeStyle Libre 3 Plus is a solid contender, especially since you can try it out before you actually commit and see if this is the right sensor for you. And it seems like a lot of people have really good experience with the FreeStyle Libre CGM's accuracy as well as how well they stick. So if you try it on, you might find that it really works for you. But for me, the lack of calibration, the wacky sensor, the other occasional signal issues, the limited app features, as well as the lack of insurance coverage, means I won't be making this my default CGM, at least for now. Still, Abbott continues to make improvements to their FreeStyle Libre CGMs, and I think continues to become a better and better option.